and welcome to Revealing Your Secrets, the podcast. I am so excited. Today I am joined with two very extremely gifted psychic healers, Narea Blue and Roman Gonzalez. Thank you both for being here. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about them. Narea has been called one of the nation's most highly esteemed and respected mediums. She is among the top 100 psychic astrologers in America. Narea is a clairvoyant energy healer who helps clients develop and manage their power and creativity while giving clarity to life solutions. Narea does alchemy and clearing work, has done exorcisms, practices psychic design where she goes into homes and helps to create spaces that enhance conscious living and bring abundance and peace, and is a medium who speaks to the dead. Narea is referred to as a leader in the mystic arts as well as Hollywood's secret psychic, but I suppose now the secret's out. Luckily, this is the perfect place for that. Roman, or Spirit Wisdom Online, is a meditation and spiritual teacher who focuses on empowering individuals through the process of spiritual counseling and healing. Roman is clairvoyant. He is able to read auras and guide people to creating the changes that can be made to live happier and more fulfilling lives. Roman is also an accomplished fashion designer and stylist who incorporates his intuitive abilities into his art, emphasizing that clothing has the ability to initiate powerful energy that can bring abundance, love, and success when styled the right way. I just want to say I think it is so cool that both of you incorporate art into your spiritual gifts, or I guess your spiritual gifts into your art.
I feel like being creative has been something that, and I mean, we're all creative. And so incorporating that into what we do, for me personally, speaks, and I feel like it just resonates more with my being and my creativity and passion, really.
Yeah. To me, creativity is a spiritual practice, so I feel like it's kind of hand in hand.
I feel the same way. I've always just delved into different creative arts and tried different things because I feel more like an artist at heart than a psychic. Because if you think about it, Michelangelo, he channeled that ceiling,
Yes.
right? Leonardo da Vinci,
Yes.
he channeled, right?
Yes.
Great songs, channeled, right? Great roles, channeled.
If anyone is interested in this subject, there's a book called Big Magic that talks about this. I don't know if you've ever read it.
No.
It's a book by Elizabeth Gilbert, and she talks about kind of how art is channeled through us. It's a spiritual practice.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's all it is. It's just expression.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to say before we really dive into this, we spoke briefly last week, and you mentioned that in a lot, and if not all, of the appearances that you've done, you're told to sort of reel it in. You know, entertain, but don't irritate.
Yes.
Make sure people are watching, but are not, disturbed by any means. I want to be disturbed today, okay? This is a podcast about secrets. We like crevices, the dark, dirty places. I want all of it.
We're going to get into all the dark cobwebs and take the flashlight to the dark.
Yes,
okay.
Please.
Okay.
I hope I don't regret asking for that.
No.
I know that there are skeptics listening. So I was wondering if there's any way you guys could sort of like intuit or channel something about me that I could either confirm or deny that would help soften the skeptics. I'm not skeptical, but I know
it's good to be
some
skeptical
listeners
sometimes.
will be.
Being skeptical is not a bad thing.
Right.
I don't know about you, but I don't really feel like I don't care if people are skeptical.
Right.
I know that sounds terrible, but
I always go back to, you got to believe in yourself, right? And you can be skeptic to 100 million things. Just don't be a skeptic to yourself.
You guys may not care about skeptics, but I do. I want them to listen and be all in. That's why I was wondering if we could have a little something. Give me a little treat.
Okay. You go first. You want to go first?
Go for it.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
I need a minute.
Okay.
You guys have to tap in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, I need your full name.
It's alyxweiss.
And your month and day of your birthday.
11/17/95.
Wait, 11/17?
Yeah.
I'm 11/18. Scorpio.
Yeah.
Mm.
Did you already write a book?
No.
Are you writing one?
No, but I want to.
Yeah, you're going to write a book. You're really just embarking on all this right now. So you may get into producing other shows. You may go, am I allowed to say all this stuff?
You can say whatever you want.
You are open to a lot of different opportunities. I mean, you'll forge your own path, I feel like. But you are creative, but you're creative in more visual film, writing, things like that, from what I can see. I feel like
That's accurate.
once you fall in love and kind of go that direction on having a family or settling down, there'll be more projects for you.
What? I gotta have love first?
Well, it'll ground you a little bit. I feel like you're still kind of flying around.
True.
And just to add from that sort of creative space, the other energy that I was noticing in your space, it's sort of this family energy that you do tend to hold on to, that takes a little bit over. And there's quite a bit of your mom's energy. So whenever you're gonna put yourself in that sort of spotlight, I mean, we can go back to your childhood, but even now, there's some of that resistance from the family that, in case, like, from what I'm seeing, like your mother's energy that comes up, and it's like, no, like Alyx, like it unconsciously sort of creates this limiting space that, you know, I feel like it holds you back from pushing yourself even further creatively.
You know what's funny? My mom, her name's Nancy, and we joke about her being a negative Nancy because she is. So, I mean, I hear what you're saying. You're not wrong.
Did you grow up at East Coast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rhode
Good
Island.
family?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got
Mhm.
like Vermontish kind of looking
Yeah.
kind of place. Yeah, really good family, fun, like not a
did
lot
their
of drama.
best.
Like, yeah, they did their best. They're good people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you kind of just rolled into what you're doing. How many different schools did you go to?
2.
And what were you studying?
Business. I have a degree in business.
No way.
I mean, I do.
I know, but I'm saying like it's not a bad thing, but like you're like more colorful, like
I know.
animation,
I was just
like
doing what my
It's
parents told me to do.
Well, that's
Yeah.
it goes
Well-
back to that sort of like, okay, you have to be in that safe sort of
Yeah.
space, right?
the conservative right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now finding that voice, giving yourself that sort of vision for yourself of what you want to be, who you want to be. So it's really quite fascinating that you have completely sort of detached. You went, you did it, you made everybody happy in that sense, but then you finding yourself has been, not only gratifying, but also your power. You have a lot of that personal power to say, you know what, I made this for myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's one other thing, sorry. I'm not sure that you believe in love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I
Yeah.
believe in love like as a conceptual idea.
Right, but for you, like the
Mhm.
reality, like
Yeah.
you don't really believe it. It's very kind of it's almost like there's one door closed, kind of what you were saying.
Yep.
So there's a door closed, and then there's this other dream door of like, well, maybe, but I doubt it. Like that whole like, nah, wouldn't happen to me. So I feel like you living your life and you being happy is going to bring you into wherever you need to be. Honestly, there's really not a lot that you have to try with. I don't feel like you're going to like you struggle with a lot. I feel like your being is pretty light for Scorpio.
Mm. I just went to Peru and did a ayahuasca ceremony. Maybe that's why.
Okay.
That could
I
be.
don't know if that helps. I mean, I'm
Okay.
sure it does.
Oh, it
It's
helps
very energetically
in many
healing.
ways.
I've never done it, so
It's talk about creating space, and I feel
Mhm.
like you did that by by you taking that approach. Of like, okay, I want to go and find more of me and my being, and in terms of opening up your heart, you want to. You as a being, as a spirit, you're like, okay, I want to give myself that space. Mentally, you might fight it. Emotionally, you might fight it, but also, I feel like you haven't met that person that is going to speak to you, to your being, to your creativity, to that sort of passion that resonates with you.
Mm. What's her name? You don't know.
I'm just kidding. No. But, it's we can work on creating that space.
I get him in animation.
Hmm.
I get him in like animation.
What do you mean you get him in animation?
Like I get his being like in animation, like
he's in that industry?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's like within 2 years.
Within 2 years?
You're pretty
That's pretty
more ready
soon.
than you are. You're just kind of staving it off, like you said. Mhm.
Okay, so I could hear you guys talk about me forever, but I know that we should move on to the viewers' secrets.
Okay.
Okay.
You've got mail.
Okay, so I just saw your story about having talented psychics on the podcast, and I don't know if this is relevant to psychic healers, but I'm going to share it anyway. I have had this crush on a longtime friend of mine whom I've contacted recently after 6 years of not speaking. We just grew apart, lol. When we first met after years, it was like we've never separated, and I absolutely was mesmerized by her. The problem is that I am also a girl, and we live in a very homophobic country. Aside from that, recently me and my friends went to a fortune teller. None of us believe in fortune tellers, but we thought it would be fun to see what each other's fortunes are and check if they come true. The fortune teller told us some really specific qualities about our families and us, which honestly quite scared me. It totally slipped my mind that she was famous for guessing names, and when it was my turn, the fortune teller described my crush so accurately. Then she wanted to guess this boy's name. I was mortified. She yanked the paper that I was writing my fortunes on from my hand and started to place letters of her name. The letters were also accurate. I started to panic and say it's kind of a strange name, it's unisex, it's feminine, and things like that, while also looking at my best friend and mouthing, what the fuck am I gonna do? The fortune teller guessed her name and said, well, this is a girl's name. Are they a girl? In a weird tone. Turns out I convinced her so well that it is a boy. Even one of my friends believed that the girl was a man. I am a lesbian. Anyways, I avoided homophobia once again, and the fortune teller said he also had feelings for me. P.S. I don't know if I should believe in fortune tellers. Some of the things already came true for me and my friends, but my friends say that it's just a coincidence and make fun of me for wanting to believe it. I have a few questions. First off, is it possible that a fortune teller or psychic, I don't know if you like the term fortune teller, can intuit names, information that is that tangible?
Yeah, at times.
There is, yes.
When you say at times, it's just sometimes you have access to something more and sometimes you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever is coming through.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I have more detail on people and other times I don't.
It depends on the person, how open. Because usually the more close off you are, you're already putting that energy. So if you're coming in again with this sort of like skeptic energy and you sit down and it's like, okay, tell me my future,
And you're closed.
you already close yourself off to the possibility.
It's like anything where you kind of
Anything.
will something into existence by belief. So if they think it's nonsense, they're going to be more closed off, and then you actually can't do as good of a job.
Absolutely, because they're already putting that resistance and that energy.
So if someone's really open, could you see events of their past? Or, because I remember when we spoke briefly last week and you talked about being in a room with people and you knew that someone had cheated on someone else in the room.
The seance. Yeah. I did a seance, like 10 people at a table, and they all wanted readings. And so they wanted me to bring different people in. Meanwhile, it was like, you had an affair with them. Like it was
Two
like
people in the room had an affair and their significant other was in the room too?
Yeah. And it was like there were a lot of issues. There were a lot of issues at this table. But they wanted me to bring all these issues up apparently. So you get what you get kind of thing. Like even when I bring in people from the other side, you can never force it. Do you agree? I feel
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, even with like spirits from the other side, like we have a perception of, oh, they're gonna be like this, when in reality maybe they just don't want to talk to you. Like
Okay.
I had where the whole family's there and then the spirit's like, I'm not talking to them, I'm still mad at them. And then the family looks at me and they're like, no, that's him or that's her. And I'm like, you know what, this spirit is extremely upset at you guys.
Wow.
For whatever reason.
I've had at one point, I had to bring somebody in, and literally I was like, I don't know what she's saying. She's speaking in another language. And they were like, she only speaks Spanish.
You got to find someone else.
It was like,
I'm sure a lot of people come to you with love-related questions. Do you ever know immediately that someone is with someone that's not their match? And do you tell them?
Yes.
100%. Always.
1,000%.
Right.
You know?
1,000%. Like, leave them now.
Absolutely.
I have clients that are thriving because they're married and they're happy, because I was like, get rid of them.
Okay, so I'm curious, do you ever sense things that you don't share with people because you know that it's not in their best interest to know, or it's too dark?
I've told people, I've read murderers, I've read people in prison, I've read people who I said would be killed. I've prepared people for death, for their families. I've warned people. I have gone into people with comas and
Wow.
talked to them to prepare for families. I have told people going to prison to not take the plea deal. I've warned people different roads not to take. So it's just part of life. It's just part of what we do. How are you going to be a psychic
And only deal with the light.
and deal with only the light when
Yeah.
it's like
Of course.
you have to prepare people? And I've had people come back and say, thank you for preparing me for my father dying.
There's all kinds of questions, all kinds of people come in and ask like the most bizarre things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we all have different kinks, different things that stimulate, or even if it's dark, even if, you know, sometimes we just,
A lot of it's dark.
yeah, like, you know, we're all looking for some kind of healing, some kind of validation.
Yes.
And, you know, just because we're in a dark place doesn't make us bad.
Mm-hmm.
Really good point.
Mm-hmm.
Because the human existence, I think people all want it to be, I'm good and I'm light. And we all have a dark side, which
Right.
is our power.
Yes. That's a huge part of spirituality, right? Is bringing light to the darkness. So of course it makes sense that you wouldn't withhold that information from people. Let's go on to a different secret. Hi, Alyx. There is no good way to start this secret, so let's just get into it. This also isn't a complete secret. There are some people in my life who've heard the story. So I want to say this was about 3 years ago now. My friends and I took some mushrooms. This was common for us. We did group trips every month or so. However, this time we were going to trip in our friend's house, of which I'd never been to before. Normally, this would make me say no right away, but because he was a good friend of mine, I figured it would be all right. Fast forward to us taking the mushrooms. We didn't have a scale, so we eyeballed it. If you've taken psychedelics, you know this does not work. Do not ever eyeball. Things are all right. We start all feeling the come up at the same time, and we're listening to Fleetwood Mac Dreams. If you've seen the YouTube lyric video, you know that shit's trippy. So that got us all really into a different reality. About 20 minutes go by, two of my friends go into the kitchen. Me and my other friend are sitting on the couch in the pitch dark. Only thing illuminating the room is the music playing on the screen. At that point, it's now playing Triple Red. I don't know what song it is, but it's creepy as shit. All of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see a man walk into the living room. I, of course, do a double take to see if it's one of my friends in the kitchen. It wasn't. He also didn't go away as I kept looking around the room. I instantly began to internally panic. I kept telling myself it wasn't real and it would pass. It sure did not pass. He continued to look at me and my friend sitting on the couch with almost a sweet grin as to say, look at these fuckers tripping in my living room. I couldn't understand who this was or how I was receiving this information. After about 5 minutes, which felt like hundreds, I quickly stood up and told my friends I had to go outside and I could no longer stay in the house. I made sure to ensure them it wasn't anything bad. It was good, actually. I just couldn't, in that moment, grasp what was happening to me. I sat on the front lawn and held onto the grass, trying to calm myself and tune into what was happening. This is already very long, so I'll cut to the end. The man who I saw, was my friend's deceased brother. He had passed away years ago in a very tragic way. However, I hadn't known any details of that or really ever knew about it, as my friend didn't like to ever speak of it. That day, I saw his brother. I have always been connected to spirit ever since childhood. However, I could never pinpoint what caused my feelings, my premonitions, until that day. If you have any more questions, feel free to contact me. I wish for you and everyone listening love, happiness, and abundance in whatever form that may be. I I have a few questions. The brother that this person saw, when you die, and when you guys talk to ghosts, I don't know if that's the term you want to use.
Spirits?
Spirits, can you talk to any spirit or is a spirit in some sort of purgatory? Does that make sense? Like at some point you pass on enough that you're not going to be interacting with this
You talk to
dimension.
spirit now. You're always
Any
talking to your
spirit.
well, you can talk to your ancestors all the time.
Right.
You stay connected. And depending on if it's a discordant, like sometimes like they're upset, sometimes they're pissed. Sometimes they're nice. It depends on what you're
But
bringing in.
Are there spirits who are like past even further?
Yes.
If that makes sense. And then, because you always hear this idea of like, there's a ghost with unfinished business. You know what I mean?
Crossed over.
This is
Yeah.
how I see it. Like, and I'm gonna talk about a little bit of a personal story of mine because I had a near-death experience. Right, I was actually underwater for about 10 minutes or so. At least my body was, and I can see my body underwater, and yet I was looking at myself, and I couldn't explain that. And I was about 9 years old. And so I'm looking at my body laying in the water, underwater. My sister's screaming, looking for me. But what was going through my head was like, wait, what am I? If my body's sitting, or my body not sitting, but laying in the water, how is it that am I here? So, with that in mind, I remember going to a little bit of this. I just got a little bit peek of what I call the astral world.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked very much like the human world. There was no cars, but
Interesting.
there were streets, there were schools, there was hospitals. There was all this life, right? And I was at peace. I felt at peace. And then boom, I got back into my body and I was out of the water, right? So from there, whenever a spirit will show up growing up, I became more receptive and sensitive, you can say, to energies, right? And Narea might relate to this. But so when I was growing up, I had this sort of like, okay, there is definitely much more to life, right? And to answer your question, it depends on us, right? Where we're going to be. If we're hovering pain and punishment, guilt, and all of this, energetically speaking, we're gonna be stuck. And that's what we called a ghost. Either we hold on to the family member that passed, or that spirit is holding on to their family because they don't want to let them go. Spirits stick around for many reasons, right? And then there is that next step, that middle space that I was mentioning, where you go back to that space where you're working, busy, going to school. There's schools. There's all this in the astral space that nobody really talks about, right? Because we're not just born yesterday. That's not how it works. We're a being having these experiences. And after that, from my own personal experience, what I have seen is that when you work on yourself to develop yourself further as a soul, as a being, they are higher levels of awareness and understanding that, you know, um, we are able to connect with that divine source even further.
Are you telling me that there's like an astral plane here and something else could be going on
At the same time.
at the same time?
Yes.
There's astral plane.
When you were talking about that story, there was a lot of interference we were getting in the headphones, and we've never had that happen before.
I've just noticed that, and you'll see me. I started playing with this because I'm like, how do I make that go away? Oh, does that mean like someone astrally is like, hello?
Yeah, do you sense anything going on right now in here?
Well, the energy in this studio, I can tell you that there's a couple of different spirits already.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also ancestors. And there's another thing I wanted to add to this, which is I have walked into rooms before. I walked into a friend's house, and I walked in and I fell back on the wall because I was like, what the hell? There's like all these women with hats on. And and I was like, what am I seeing? And she said, you're freaking me out. She's like, my aunt, Vi, who was in Hancock Park, used to have bridge parties. And so these were all the women that I saw playing bridge. And they were still playing bridge. So to me, it was more of like, there's also very much like the imprint of spirit being there.
Absolutely.
This kind of reminds me of the idea people say we understand time as linear, but spiritually it's not linear. So
no,
when
spears,
it
works in
everything's
spirals.
happening at once, or it's looping around. Because when you say you walk into that room and they're still having the party, it's like it's not necessarily happening, but it's the essence of them.
It's the essence and the almost like the energetic blueprint of them being there. It was so powerful with so many women coming together in a room.
And the fact that you're able to pick up on that, tune into that energy that used to be there because that energy was there.
But that's the thing. I don't try ever to pick up on this stuff. I'm sure you don't either.
No, it just presents itself.
Yeah. So there's certain people that are open psychically.
Would you say that everyone has spiritual gifts?
We are all spirit.
So yes.
Absolutely.
But not necessarily psychic gifts.
Well, it comes back to us, because we have our intuition. It speaks to us.
Everyone does, right?
Everyone does. Some, yes, more sensitive than others. And also it's your choice to actually dive in there further or just leave it as it is.
Well, so I wanted to ask you, do you have any tips for people who are interested in enhancing their spiritual gifts?
Can I say something about that really quick?
Yeah.
It's really important, I think. Because I was thinking about that. Like, yes, people want to enhance their gifts, but you have to be really careful on what's driving you. What's driving you? Because I have clients that are crazy psychic or friends that are psychic that I don't want to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's too much. And it's almost frustrating at times because you can see you can't really say anything, but it's more like you have an obligation or responsibility. Some people have a responsibility. Other people have a purpose. Other people just want it for whatever the hell they want it for.
For entertainment.
For playing around. And you can't play around. You can, but you're going to get in trouble if you. So it depends on what. So yeah, absolutely. There's so many things that can enhance, but it's like anything else, developing a muscle of opening up. And, I've had so many not fun experiences delving into this world too. It doesn't, it's not all just
fairies and
fun
sunshine.
and games. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like I never saw myself doing readings for people, but spirit always find a way to push me because you get to see, it's not just butterflies and unicorns, you get to see dark things and which is ultimately is the truth of things and light. Yes. So it's a balance of things, right?
I love that you guys are warning me. You're like, this isn't something to just decide you want to do. The child in me is like, okay, I hear you, but what are your tips?
For my personal spiritual growth, meditation.
Yes.
Meditation has been my to-go-to in terms of finding, first of all, about me, the relationship with myself, with disabilities that I didn't understand. It took some time, but within that space of my inner being, that I begin to practice. I begin to, create that quiet space with myself and listen and go from there. And it was consistency.
How often and how long do you meditate?
Well, I meditate every morning, and I try to keep my meditation an hour.
So I want to kind of add to that a little bit.
Okay.
Everyone has their own style.
Right.
Some people meditate while buying stocks.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Other people meditate by painting.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you want to find is, how do I meditate you might meditate horseback riding.
Yeah.
Right? I meditate secret coming out through the night. Literally through the night. I have meditation going.
Like while you're sleeping, you mean?
Yep. Through the night till 6 a.m. I'm not kidding you.
How do you differentiate that from simply sleeping?
I need it. I need it from my spirit. I need the transmissions. I need the connection to the divine.
Are you asleep, or you mean you're literally awake meditating?
I'm half awake, half asleep, and I keep coming in and out.
Do you do it on purpose, or that's just naturally what your body does?
On purpose.
Oh, how do you keep yourself like semi-awake?
I don't. It's like I just have it going so that I am connected all the time, because it's about connecting to the divine. Yeah. So like last night, for instance, I went into the trees, just trees, because they give me peace. They make me happy.
When you said you went into the trees, you mean like
talking to them?
You're like inside the tree?
Feeling them, talking to them, understanding.
Because I just want to say, I went to Peru recently to do ayahuasca, and I was truly like one with the tree at one point.
Absolutely.
So it's so funny hearing you say that. If you told me that like a few months ago, I'd have been
they're like people.
Okay,
you're crazy.
Playing on the branches, but no, like. And obviously the only way I could get there was, this like psychedelic. And this is something that you can tap into, but I understand that you can tap into, I don't know, I guess like putting your consciousness somewhere else.
Absolutely.
You're connecting. Everything's alive.
Yeah.
So you're going in and connecting. So when you expand that much, you expand to knowing that it's not just you, it's everything. There's more of a peace that comes over you and then you start to really feel it out, and you're like, oh wow, that tree is like this energy, or this creature. There's a cat in my courtyard that is neglected by the owner. And I talk to him all the time, comes and talks to me. So there's like everything's alive. It's not just us. There's a million other creatures.
To be clear, when you're speaking to animals, it's not like English. It's an unspoken understanding of one another.
Well, he's talking like, like his meowing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I know. I don't know where your mother is. Like,
but you just
I'm sorry,
know
buddy.
What
like
saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just kind of like praise, I'll be like, you have such great lion energy. Like just to kind of keep him alive.
Aww.
Because
you're literally like stroking that cat's ego a little bit.
To keep him alive. I feel like he would die from starvation of
I want to move on to the next one, but I have one quick last question about this, which is, could you very briefly just say, are there things that get in the way of intuitive gifts, like certain drugs, or like does alcohol, is that a hindrance to spiritual connection? I believe that already, but I don't know. Or like pornography, for example. A lot of this like kind of tangible stuff that people are addicted to.
Those are the lower base things. And
chakra.
Yeah.
Those lower base chakras, right? Survival.
Survival.
We work from, most of humanity does work from that survival space.
They've been kept in it. Yeah.
Absolutely. That programming, limiting, space of, you do what you can to survive, right? And so in terms of, yes, there's many different things that hinder, it could be gossip.
There's
it
also
could be
spirits.
There's
also
of
entities.
Course, spirits, entities. When you do, you're big on drugs and you open yourself up and you're receptive to all this energy comes through and out. You know what I mean? Like a hotel, check in, check out.
Yeah.
So there's so many things that block your intuition. It's like before you go into a meeting, but then you got into a fight with your boyfriend. Now, whatever you're going to go and do it at the meeting,
right.
Guess what?
So, of course, the day-to-day things, like perhaps like getting in a fight with someone, or there are things that are harder to avoid. But what are, like, would you say just point blank, there are some things to avoid, like alcohol, because it opens you up. Drugs, alcohol, pornography, gossip.
Things that, pornography, there can be anything that takes away from you, guilt. Ultimately, what I feel that hinders your communication with spirit and your gifts is guilt
And shame.
and shame.
Mm-hmm.
However you collected that, wherever you picked that from, whether it's from your childhood, whether it's from your mom or dad, whether it's from your environment, from work, whatever causes you to feel that way, it's going to hinder not only your abilities, but your relationship with yourself.
So I am a deeply spiritual person and I have always believed in the craft. I always have been involved in magic and find it often works for me. However, there was this one occasion where I regret it working. There was a boy in my class who I really disliked and he was always mean to me. He bullied me on a daily basis and essentially it got too much for me to deal with. One day I had enough and I did a little spoken curse on him. I just wished a little something would go wrong and humble him, and it did. I came into school the next day and I found all my classmates deeply distraught. It turned out in the night he had fallen very sick and had to be rushed to the hospital in an ambulance. It was there after rigorous testing and being stuck to a drip he was diagnosed with diabetes. I felt awful and so guilty. He had never shown signs of diabetes before, and I feel that maybe if I hadn't have cursed him, it wouldn't have happened. I never meant for it to go that far. I only wanted for him to stop being mean, but instead he got sick. Safe to say, I will never curse again. Is this legitimate? Like, could this really happen?
Yes.
Curses are real.
Can anyone possess the power of cursing?
They don't know it. People curse people every day.
I have heard that idea before. Like, I forget what the book is. It's the 5 agreements or something, and one of them's being
4 agreements.
The
four
4
agreements.
agreements.
Be
Yes.
impeccable with your word because
Mhm.
everything you speak is
A spell.
Absolutely.
is a spell.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone
Absolutely.
can.
I've done it. I mean, I've removed curses too, family curses, and it's not something that I looked for. It just happened, and so it was like, okay, I have to do this now. So you learn. That's how you sort of learn the craft too. You keep engaging yourself with your strength and your abilities, and you sort of ask for guidance. Where it's like, oh, I can do this now. Like you just are gifted more gifts when you begin to open up.
And the more you engage with it.
The more you engage, but it's more with the divine. It gives you more and more.
What does seeing a curse even look like?
Well, I did an exorcism for a house. I also did removed a curse for my family. My family was cursed. So it's a lot of crying, a lot of removing, a lot of going in and fighting, it's a lot of very mystical,
So you say fighting, you're like this, but
yeah,
you're fighting.
Think Doctor Strange.
But fighting in the
Okay.
astral.
Okay,
In
yeah.
the
Fighting in the
astral.
astral.
Right.
And so it's a lot of fighting and clearing and, and I know people that go to battle in like at night for people too. So there's a lot of spiritual warriors for people. So they're not easy to remove. It takes time. So this place was cursed. And so I went home and for 3 days I worked on this. And after that I was like, I don't want to do these anymore. I don't want to do exorcism anymore.
What were you doing during those 3 days? What does that look like?
So I went to the house. I went in. It was an old plantation celeb house, right? And the first thing that happened, beautiful home, first thing that happened was because they were being haunted, 5 kids, husband, wife. I channeled the woman who the house was built for. So she came through. I remember speaking and crying at the same time because they loved the house and it was built out of love. And all the people that were coming in were shitty. They were like, didn't care, didn't care about the house. And homes are energy.
Absolutely.
And so there was no love, there was no warmth, there was none of that. So once I channeled her, then I kind of went around and assessed what was happening in different rooms. Went up to the attic. I mean, came off the elevator. It was like a cluster. It was so intense. And I called a friend of mine that does exorcisms and I was like, can I do this? And he was like, of course you can. But walking in, it was so heavy, intense. And it wasn't one spirit. It was a cluster of spirits that had like gathered and taken over and were demanding and were terrorizing the kids. So they were all sleeping in one bed. So I kept going back and clearing and commanding. You have to go in and do you come in the name of God and Bible verses, and it's like something out of Constantine. Only you don't see the demon leaving from the mirror, but it's like you're really in battle like that. Then I have to go home and keep removing and also clear myself too. So yeah, for 3 days I went back.
And you can sort of astrally see this energy in your...
Meaning what?
Like obviously I'm gonna walk in the room and I'm like, that's an attic, but you can see stuff.
Oh, it's for this. It wasn't even seeing them. It was a feeling that was overwhelming. It was so powerful. I was like, holy, can I do this? It was like that intense with this.
And when you're fighting them off, what does that even mean?
Well, I didn't fight with them. I was reasoning with them to leave.
Bargain.
I had to bargain, and they were demanding, and they were assholes.
Well, what did they want?
They wanted candy, jewelry. They were demanding, like
you can't even give that to them. What do they?
No, I was like, I shouldn't have. I was like nice about it. I called somebody else in. I called another person to exorcism because I was like, I want to give them candy. I want to give them jewelry.
You can't. How would you even do that?
Oh, you leave it. It's like an altar. It's like an altar. It's energetic because what you miss when you die is sex and smoking and drinking and
it's the offerings, right?
Yeah,
they want offerings.
Oh,
offerings.
Hell yeah! Always, I give offerings every day to Gaia. Just apples or fruit. Yes, offerings to spirit. We are not the only ones here. Like,
I'm just curious. Obviously, like the apple remains, even though maybe they're like energetically enjoying it. So then what do you just like take it away at some point?
You just throw it out. Every day I just throw the apple out and I'm like, oh, I forgot to feed you. I'm sorry.
This is so interesting.
We have crazy lives.
Yeah.
We have crazy lives. Like people have no idea.
And going back to curses and such, going back to that whole everyday, it's like when we're angry at somebody, we project that energy to them. We put our energy in their space. Their energy gets put in our space. And guess what? Now it's a whole mess of energy intertwined. And that calls forth more negative energy to just come through by law. Because we are what we project. What we put out, we receive.
Well, and you can neutralize things. I do a lot of like air magic from my Egyptian days of being a priestess. So I'm learning in this life that we're bringing it back in this life where I can blow, I can breathe. There's like, I can do a lot with.
Okay, I have a question for you. Thank you. I brought this up. I was in Peru. I did an ayahuasca ceremony. There are shamans or maestros that facilitate the whole experience.
Yeah.
And there was something that they did in every ceremony so many times. And I wish I asked them, but I just had no idea what it was. First off, this is what they do before they give you the medicine. They go like this and then they go, whew. What is that?
What's like you're breathing energy into that.
Deliberate intention.
It's the intention is the energy. It's a blessing.
So if they're, consciously putting intention into the, okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
You can work with air. I do it all the time. I calm things down. I neutralize. I send stuff.
Well, it's like with your lucky charms, your sexy wear, sexy dress that you wear that you already know that makes you feel good, or you already have your favorite shirt that you just had it for like, I don't know, years because it makes you feel a certain way. You already put that energy in, right?
Okay.
So you put that energy, however you choose to. And it could be in a ceremony, consciously, deliberately to project that into that specific space, or we do it sometimes unconsciously.
So I wanted to ask you guys how people can kind of protect themselves or clear themselves of negative energy or curses, but would you say intention is mostly
a lot more than intention?
Yeah.
Or burning sage, it takes more.
It takes a lot more. And also there's, here's another thing protection wise, if you are connected to the divine, nothing's going to touch you. If you're truly
tapped in.
Yeah. And you've got to kind of walk into battle with that.
And thinking about, let's back to the whole cleansing of your energy, your aura, right? We have a human, we're a human and we have an aura,
Mhm.
right? So we carry a bunch of energy, that we collect from the day. It can be a sponge. Your aura gets contaminated. Your aura gets
Mhm.
contaminated to your environment, places, people's energy, friends, that they dump everything on you. And so I get this all the time whenever as I'm performing energy healings with people. However, we collected that energy or curses or things like that we collect, but there is so many things that you can do in terms to cleanse. People have crystals. People,
Salt baths.
salt baths, which are amazing.
Salt baths are great.
Spending time in
Alchemy.
nature, but
Bringing energy in, just light with like sparkles.
Meditation.
Like
Anything.
visualizations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
visualizations help tremendously.
Color.
But also seek help. Seek for a healer. Seek help that somebody can help you to relieve
you resonate
yourself.
with.
Of course,
Yeah.
that can help you let go of energy that you might be holding on to.
Mm. Okay. Thank you.
To release. Releasing is really important. Our bodies are not containers. And people, if you notice, like, have you ever like seen a person like over the years and you're like, what happened to them, kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
So it's like life kind of got to them and kind of piled on stuff. And so there's a whole like meditation that you can do where there's like a silver cord and you connect it to more of the astral, where you can take everything out of your body and release it, because it's really important. Release work is essential along with inner child.
Or part of like my favorite thing to do is being grounded, right? My meditations usually consist of, okay, I can visualize myself sitting on a tree trunk, and that tree trunk goes all the way down to the center
Yeah.
of the earth, right?
Yes.
Stretching its root to the core of the earth and allowing gravity to sort of push down all the energy that I collected from the day, people that I work with. And with that, any energy that we send to the earth, it's recycled.
Yeah.
It's
Alchemy.
we need more trees. We need more trees. We need more nature. Why do we collect it? Why do we hover and keep it when we can just release it, transmute it, right? Like alchemy,
Transmute. Yeah.
transmute. And the other part of not just releasing and pushing, but you're gonna replenish yourself back with light, right?
Restore.
Whenever you take something out, you always want to replenish it back in.
Mm.
And I usually visualize like a bright gold sun with my own spiritual energy, source, God's love, grace, and just bring that energy back into my space to kind of seal the deal.
So we're going to move on to this going public segment. We usually interview a caller who has submitted a secret, but you guys have extremely interesting lives. So I'm just going to interview you. I'm going to try to go through it quickly and just get your answers because I have a lot of questions. Okay. Do you have any secrets from your personal experiences with spiritual and psychic work? Maybe mistakes, something that you've done wrong, an odd tool that you use, something that you don't want to tell me right now.
Ooh.
I'm thinking of like, I've had a demon sitting on my chest at one point, like a dog-like creature. And that was sort of like I had to call an exorcist. I called literally an exorcist who it had a name, it had all kinds of stuff.
That's terrifying.
Yep. And he asked me his name. It's in a book. It's called Adversaries Walk Among Us. It's John Livingston. He was a big exorcist. I don't know if he's alive anymore.
What do you mean it's in a book? Your experience?
Yeah, I'm in books. I'm in people's book. I'm in two books. One is the Salem witch trials. I have a chapter. And another one is Adversaries Walk Among Us.
And it was that experience that you had had.
And it was really terrifying. It was a dog-like creature sat on my chest trying to take my breath, because they always try to take your breath. And it's pretty much, he said that I was on their radar. This was dark times. This was like 1999. I was living in a haunted house. There were a lot of spirits that would push me, wake me up, all kinds of crazy stuff. But I couldn't do anything about that. Like, I didn't know what to do at that. I was not equipped
Yeah.
at that time to do what I do now, kind of thing.
Wow. That's terrifying.
It wasn't fun.
What were you going to say?
I want to add to that. I had a similar story with that.
We're on their radar.
When I think I was like, again, probably like 10 or so. And it was like super early morning. I woke up, and this story I usually don't really share, but I looked towards the hall of my room, and there was a big cat looking for something. And I just was staring at it. It was like 7 a.m. And I grew up in a farm, and my family was outside, my mom and sisters. And then I was like looking at the cat, and the cat was looking for someone. And immediately I was like very uneasy, like in this like uneasy feeling, because we didn't have a fucking cat. Like, we didn't have a cat. And I love cats, but I didn't grow up with, we had dogs. And then that cat was not, I realized that it was not a cat. It was something else. It had these like beaming red eyes, like it was possessed. It was some kind of creature like. And it saw me, it locked eyes with me, and it just pounced and it attacked. Luckily, we had, mosquito nets like on the bed, that the cat thing got caught up in the mosquito net, and it was just, I knew that it was just after me, and it was out for blood. I was crying, to the point that my mom had come in, and she grabbed like some kind of stick or something that she whacked that off, that it would not just let go.
Would you say that we are all susceptible to being energetically attacked by these things, but you guys are able to identify them? Or you're more likely because they can sense that you're...
They don't want us here.
Yeah. You know too much.
Yeah. And energies will do, whatever they can to sort of stop you. That's what I got from that.
Yep.
Because I didn't even know. It was at the house, and boom, it attacked.
Have you ever made mistakes while being like reading someone? You were like, "Oh, I fucked that up," and how?
I want to say that I have. It happens, in terms of like.
But what is it? You misspeak, or?
Usually it's the way that we word things. Usually for me personally, it's and sometimes it could be the information. The information can be not necessarily for that individual, but maybe my next appointment that is gonna be coming up.
You read the wrong energy.
Yes. Yeah. So we can, as sensitive as I am, or clairvoyant, we get caught up, entangled in the energy, and then boom, the energy, and then the other person can say, that doesn't resonate with me, or they go, oh, it's my friend who's sitting outside.
That's so funny. I have a question about death.
Yes.
Are we all... So this is my understanding. You can read energy, and that energy can help you understand what might happen in the future, but if you shift your energy, you might have a different path in the future, right? So is there anything that's destined in life, and is one of those things when we die?
Well, this is how I see it. We all have countless futures.
Mm-hmm.
Some futures are more predictable, some of them are not, right? Some are more complex. So depending on that individual, that sort of destined fate in terms of death, it can be pre-aligned.
But it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be.
Okay.
Some people have death wish, too.
What does that mean?
Some people have a death wish for themselves. They just don't know it.
Like they want to die a certain way or a certain
Yes.
age?
I have seen that.
Do I have one?
No.
No.
You would know,
cannot.
like, because it's something that
I
they
mean, I don't
fixate
know
on, right?
everything, but
Right. Or like you as in I would know if I had some sort of death wish.
oh yeah, I would see it.
Okay.
Or I would like, yeah, you can see
Yeah,
that.
your energy
Mhm.
can that
Yeah.
we tend to carry.
No, you're a happy person. You're a pretty happy being. You get down and then stay in bed at day times, but for the most part, you're pretty happy.
What is my aura a certain color that you can?
That's more your department.
It's an apple green.
Oh, an apple green.
Apple green with some kind of orange, not Halloween, right? But also with a little bit of pink.
Huh. That sounds
And
nice.
the pink has to do the relationship with yourself, which is your priority. The green that you're bringing has to do with bigger projects, things that you're creating, like writing, like Narea was saying.
Mhm.
And then the orange has to do with health, keeping
Physical
yourself,
strength.
health,
Yeah.
eating, your body, eating, that comes up quite a
You're
bit.
going to change physical health. You're going to change your physical health. You want to.
What do you mean?
You want to shift your body.
Like be healthier?
Yeah, like be fit. Like not that you're not. I'm not saying you're not, but I pick up on
It's
that
the
you
whole
want-
health aspect,
Mhm.
and
That
not
it's like a priority to me is what you're picking up on?
yes, health, physically, mentally, emotionally are what you're that at least that with the orange color, that's what I see that it means for
So
you.
that's basically the energy I'm sitting in right now.
Yes.
I see. Yeah, I would say all of that is a priority to me. Okay, Roman,
Yes.
how's my outfit? Is it what I should be wearing?
For today?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did good.
You did good. It's comfortable, it's calm, it's sort of this like I'm in a good space.
playful.
Playful.
Do you have any tips for people? Like if you can't personally style them, how they can be in better, dress themselves in a way that's in alignment?
Well, color plays a big role. If we're always wearing black, it's like, well, yes, you like metal and things like that. Not necessarily. Or you can just be chic in black, but you also got to own it. You know what I mean? So color is gonna play a big role in how you feel. It has a vibration. It resonates with you. Like, okay, what is it that you want to push forward? What do you want to emanate your energy to resonate? Like
What's
with
driving you?
even with me, wearing this sort of off-white, sort of, playing with that texture, colorful. It speaks about, oh, maybe it's peaceful, maybe it's calm, maybe it can be many things. So what you wear in terms of, your color palette will speak a lot and tell you a lot about you.
So you should tune into how it makes you feel, the certain colors.
Absolutely.
Fabric, statement,
Right.
Oh,
who
fabric
you
plays a
are.
big role.
That's like when I designed, it was a lot about fabric. It's a lot about your comfort level. Like if you're, well, I don't know about Scorpios, but like if you have an earth sign somewhere in there, you're going to want cotton. You're going to want natural, kind of down to earth fabrics.
Interesting. Okay. The good question for you now, I was wondering if you could, Narea, tell us, do you have any notes on the setup of this room?
I think it's great. I love it. I think it's really cute.
Do you have any tips for listeners on how they can better put their spaces together? Like any
I love
kind of
that.
easy
thing?
Yeah.
I would say, well, first off, like again, you've got to know who you are. So what are you looking to do? Like, do you want just a clean space or do you want a cozy space? So it's a lot about your personality. Because when I do spaces, I use your chart. So it's according to your stars, literally. So it's like, I'm not going to give a Pisces a red rug. I'm going to give them something soothing, right? Or I'm going to go according to their being and their different intricacies of who they are.
You can keep Scorpio the red rug.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll take it.
100%, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like a red rug.
Well, yeah, you're Scorpio.
Yeah. Do we have soulmates?
Absolutely. And I just want to add in terms of the word soulmate. The word soulmate essentially it's going to be that soul that is going to bring growth to you. And it might not always be just about love. It might also break your heart. Your soulmate will also break your heart because you will learn from that.
Well, that's why like
about
friends
love.
are soulmates, right? People you
So-
work with can be soulmates.
Absolutely.
People you
And
meet, yeah.
we call that agreements, right?
Mm.
Agreements at a
Contract.
soul agreement that we create with people.
Mm.
So it's not always necessarily of oh yeah, that specific one, it's my love and I'm gonna obsessed about this soul and he or she or they or them, they have to love me. No. It's more.
Do you sense any spirits here in the studio?
I feel like there's a lot of stuff happening in the studio.
Really?
Feels like it.
What comes up, there is this older lady. More towards the back. I feel like more in the like back in the recording sort of studio. She comes up as a very like bossy, and it looks like she's related to one of the guys in the back.
Like who's here right now?
Yes, like grandmother who's super bossy, like this is how we're gonna do it, this is gonna be done. And it's just almost um like wants to keep everything a certain way organized.
That's my grandma was super bossy. I don't know if that.
There you
that's-
go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, and the, what's so funny, because I was seeing her energy when I came in, I was like rushing in to get here. But she was literally like standing by the door. So it's almost like if you're
Greeting?
not doing shit right, she's like, I don't want you.
Does
you
this
know?
mean that this grandma is haunting Eddie wherever Eddie goes? 'Cause,
Absolutely.
Like she's obviously Eddie's grandma doesn't live on set like
no,
here.
but she
She
works
follows
here,
Eddie?
and she's a
She's a producer.
it's
Put
like
her on the credits.
it's like
I also
it's her
feel like our
favorite
guides are here, too.
grandchild.
Aw, Eddie.
That's why I see it.
She used to obsess over me, saying that I look like my grandfather, her husband, who
Mhm.
passed away when I
Mhm.
was young.
Wow. Well, thank you guys for talking to us today. To me.
Thank you. This is great.
I really
It's
enjoyed
What a
fun.
blessing
this.
to
Yeah,
be
it's
here
fun.
and having us for you
Thank you, yeah.
to have us here.
So if people enjoyed this episode, where can they find you and your services? Just a little rundown.
Well, they can find me in social media, Instagram, Spirit Wisdom.
Yep.
I'm also in Aura's World physically. I'm there some days, so they can go to Aura's World
In Los Angeles.
here in LA.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. Perfect.
Uh,
Spirit Wisdom.
Spirit Wisdom Insta. Mhm.
Narea.
KimLoveMuse.com is my website, and Narea Blue is Instagram.
It's Narea_blue, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Very good point.
Yeah.
It's like, there's your Virgo.
And your website, people can get your
The sprays. Cozy Girl with it's COZIEGIRL, cozygirl.com.
cozygirl.com.
Mm-hmm.
Send us a DM.
Send them a DM.
Yes.
Send us a DM, a message.
Perfect. Thank you guys. And thank you
Thank
to
you.
everyone for tuning in today to Revealing Your Secrets. Don't forget, you're only as sick as your secrets, so send them to us. Go to speakpipe.com/revealing your secrets to leave a voicemail or fill out the anonymous submission form at the bottom of my show notes. Today's episode of Revealing Your Secrets is a production by Cast Media. I'm your host, Alyxweiss. My producers are Eddie Montalvo and Katie Curtright. My associate producer is Brandon Klein. My executive producers are Colin Thompson and Harris Lane. My editor is Bobby Semmelsberger. My technical engineer is Dustin Park. And design and animations by Jeff Schweikart. I'll see you next time. Thank you again.
Thank you
you.
for having us.
Thank you.